Sometimes being a woman isn't really the best job you could have, but then in the medieval era, it wasn't the best job. I'm just imagining women getting born in the medieval era and asking God, like, why did you make me a woman? Like, why didn't you just make me a man? But they had nothing to actually exchange to God for, so they were born women and they had to go through it alone. So now on this video, I'm going to be showing you top 10 things women had to go through in the medieval era. It's quite interesting and it's going to keep you tops up. I'm your host, Princess, and this is InfoGist TV. And do well to drop me your comments if you love this video and if you want to see more. And on the top 10 countdown today, at number 10, sports, we have the most important things about women in the medieval ages. It is the fact that they were inferior to men. Though it still happens now, though, but not like then in the medieval era. Because then they were taught to, respect their fathers and probably their husbands, and at one point or the other, any male folks around. The king, the nation, whatever, as long as you were a male folk, every woman would literally respect you, never minding your age. So they were taught, or they were brought up to be inferior. So they had that feeling, they had that thinking, so you didn't really see a woman with much self-esteem or confidence in herself because she had to understand that she was inferior to men. Okay, on our number 9 sports today, because we just want to leave women at being inferior at the number 10 sports. So on the number 9 sport, we have what is called a profession called ladies of the night. I think I'm ringing bells in your head, but yeah, let me ring that bell a little bit. Now, ladies of the night were actually seen to be business people, merchants for that matter, because they actually exchanged their bodies for money. In our normal days, we wouldn't really call it a business because obviously your parents do not really want to hear you are a lady of the night in this present century. But then, if you literally walk up to your mom and be like, hello mom, I want to be a lady of the night, and she's going to be like, fine, it's a job, you can do it, but not in this century. Do not try this at home. Actually, that's the advice I'm giving it to you. So on the number 8 sport, we have the fact that if a woman's husband died, she had absolutely no right to take over the family business. But she could if only her son gave her the others to, like, hey mom, okay, dad is dead, go take over the business. That was how it was. But if her son didn't really give her permission to, she had no right whatsoever to take over the business. Wow, I can't really imagine myself bringing a child to earth and, for instance, over my dead, whatever, the son gets to tell me not to take over my husband's business because he's late. Okay, that was a lot of things women had to go through in the medieval era. And, shout out to medieval queens. You guys were really strong out there. I'm so happy I escaped it. Okay, moving up to number 7, sports. Married women were not allowed to inherit family properties or be part of government policies or system. The priesthood, or either the higher education system, which is the universities you all know today. Now, the only right you had as a single woman was the right to inherit land or to sell or to own a land. Just one. You had nothing more than that. And probably when you get married, this land is actually going to be taken over by your husband. Now, this husband, I'm actually saying, for instance, when I'm telling you that your husband could literally take over the business, is because your parents get to pay a certain dowry to any man who you would actually want to get married to. That is to entice the man to maybe like you more, or if your father is actually owing the man's father a particular amount of money, they could just give you in exchange. So maybe your land is actually going to go also in exchange when you're actually being taken in exchange. Wow. Imagine me being sold off because my dad is owing someone a particular amount of money. Well, anyway, I had luck, I survived. But okay, so the number 6, sports. Now, just like every country has its own laws, rules, and regulations binding on marriages and how you live your life, in the medieval era, under the civil law, a husband was literally allowed to physically harm his wife as a means of punishment. But he had to do this in moderation as he saw her as his pupil. Now, we literally know in our present denomination today, if you lay your hand on a woman by accident, you're actually facing trouble. You're obviously facing trouble. But then in the medieval era, it was legal to beat your wife. Oh, thank God it isn't legal at this point in time. But then it was way legal to hit your wife, and she had no reason whatsoever to raise her voice at you or to shout at you. Now, the disadvantage of that particular part is if you get to hit your wife and she leaves the house, for instance, she doesn't come back to the next day, you could actually sue your wife for adultery because she slept outside the house. And I'm like, wow. So because I slept outside my husband's house, I'm sued for adultery. But yes, women were actually put through a lot. In the medieval era, in the medieval times, it was really a stress. Moving up to number 5, sports. From the ages of 5, you know that thing we do of betrothism, and you're going to marry this particular person. Yeah, women were usually betrothed from the ages of 5. But they were not married until the ages of 12 and 14. I told you about the dowry stuff, right? Yes, then the man could literally come and be like, okay, it's time for me to get married to you. And you're seeing a girl of 14 getting married. Though it still happens, but not as much as it was then in the medieval era. I think now there is a moderation. And I love the moderation about everything, and it's really coming to light that yes, women are, they're actually going further. Okay, moving up to number 4, sport. You know one thing about women getting married and owning businesses with your husbands, yeah. But really, in the medieval era, women were not allowed to own businesses alongside their husbands. They were only allowed to work alongside their husbands, which they actually did frequently. They had to work in the fields, they had to work in the workshop, as shopkeepers, as bakers, and whatever business you literally think, women actually did. And at that point in time, they did all the spinning in the society, and they did this by handheld spindles. So women actually did a lot. So shout out to those women in the medieval era. As I'm saying, you guys are the queens, you guys are the boss. I don't really know what we're doing in this era, but if I was born in the medieval era, trust me, I don't think I would want to stay a day in my parents' house. I would literally create my own country. Well, anyway, let's just say shout out to them. Now, moving up to the number 3 sports of the women in the medieval era. Yeah, we talked about them working alongside their husbands, but they could literally own their own jobs, and they could at least own 2 jobs because they were paid less than the males. Now, imagine the male folks earning $5,000 for just mopping your floor. Women could actually earn just $1 for mobbing that same floor. They were seen as less and inferior. Like, ouch! I feel their pains. But that was how women in the medieval era were treated, and it's all good. At least they survived it and they took care of the family. So shout out to those ladies. Moving on to the number 2. You know when I said that women were actually made to obey their husbands? Yes, yes, yes. Women were seen a lot, and they were often connected to witchcraft. Yes. Sometimes if you even get to raise your voice at your husband, you could be actually seen to be a witch. Now, they often saw women as witches because they felt women were gullible and were stupid and were easily lured to the devil. For instance, you get to beat your wife and she cries. The men felt like she would only go to the devil to actually tell the devil, okay, this is what my husband did to me. And then women were often they were often seen as evil. And even in writing, they also got to see them as evil. Romance novels didn't really give women a break then, because back to back they were seeing them as witches. So they could easily hang you to death, or they could easily give you the walk of shame. A lot of things were done. Oh my god. It was interesting though, because they actually survived through it to date. They saw themselves through, and it was still an interesting thing. But please don't see women as witches. They are not. They are lovable and beautiful human beings. And finally, on the number 1 sport, women were sent to convents and monasteries. Wow. Why? Why would you literally send me to a convent? To become a nun? Or because you feel like I was getting close to witchcraft? Oh. Well, unlike the present ages where we don't believe in witches, in the medieval era they believed in those people who really flew on brooms, who really had long and pointy caps, and they really saw women as weird when they put in the long garments, and your parents just had to feel you had witches all over you, and then just toss you down to the convent to become a nun. And maybe that's where the movie came out from, The Nun. And maybe the nun was actually from the medieval era, obviously, because it's a tradition that has actually broken down till today. Well, that's all we have for today. Just in case you find this video interesting and you want to see more of it, drop your likes, your comment. Do not forget to also subscribe to InfoGist TV. See you so much.